Hi there, friend. Picture this. Someone takes a chainsaw, tears your dick off with it, and then locks it away in some hidden place, laughing at your attempts to get it back. Shame, rage, and frustration eat away at you from the inside, picking apart your mind as your body grows weaker and becomes a mockery of the sexual Superman you once were. Unable to please your partner, she turns on you as well. Starts with a brief look of pity across her delicate features, which eventually become a sneer of condescending disgust for the emasculated wretch who can no longer give her the massive, pulsating erection she once begged to have inside of her. You've lost control, and everything is falling apart. As your life deteriorates into an agonizing downward spiral that you're certain you can never escape from, you try every method you can think of to get your manhood back. Time and again, you suffer the razor-sharp sting of failure like some kind of sadistic torture ritual that sacrifices the very last of your dignity on the altar of humiliation. Eventually, you begin to wonder if life is even worth living anymore as you are consumed by depression and an overwhelming sense of hopelessness. Now, this may sound crazy, but that's what it felt like when erectile dysfunction tore down my life and left me a broken man both physically and mentally. It wasn't that long ago that my entire life fell apart so badly thanks to ED that I literally put a gun to my head a few times in a drunken stupor. Hi, I'm Alex, an older man who hit rock bottom on the same dark path that you're on right now. But what I want to talk to you about is how I overcame the shame and humiliation of being virtually castrated by erectile dysfunction, and how you can too. Like an aggressive form of cancer, the devastating effects of ED are subtle at first, but quickly spread to consume every aspect of your life, leaving everything you love in ruins. The emasculating effects of erectile dysfunction can destroy your relationship with your partner, tear apart your family in a costly divorce, lead to depression, anxiety, and alcoholism, leave your penis so limp and embarrassingly weak you can't even jack off to porn. Scary stuff, huh? The good news is that you don't have to go down the same dark path I did that nearly cost me my life. I've discovered a way that you can fix your ED without humiliating or dangerous methods. I'm going to share with you the secret of not only beating your erectile dysfunction, but also how to get back your pride and confidence as a man. This new program contains no expensive surgeries, no risky pills, no awkward pumps, no painful injections, no bizarre food combinations that'll leave you on the toilet with the screaming squirts. But before I give you away the big secret here, let me take a moment to tell you my story. I am living proof that no matter how bad erectile dysfunction destroys your self-confidence, your pride as a man, and your life, you can come back better, stronger, and happier than ever before. When it comes to erectile dysfunction, denial is your worst enemy. To be honest, I never thought I'd experience erectile dysfunction, and I'm guessing you were probably the same. Back in my college days, I was practically a legend on campus when it came to my sexual exploits. My fraternity called me bedbug for a reason. Now, let's be honest here, when the sex is good, life is good. But when it's not, well, fast forward a few decades and I'm sitting on the floor of a barely furnished apartment surrounded by empty bottles of beer and liquor, drunk out of my mind, putting a gun to my head. I was so ashamed of how badly my penis had deteriorated that I began to piss sitting down to avoid having to look at it or handle it. I felt completely emasculated. How did it come to this? My sex life with my now ex-wife of 21 years, Sandra, had always been good. Scratch that, it was goddamn amazing. I was at the top of my game, able to make her squirm, moan, and climax on demand like some kind of sex god descended from Mount Olympus. Not only that, I was constantly getting the look from women I'd meet, waitresses, coworkers, the lady at the bank, and more. They all wanted to flirt with me. It's like women can sense a man who carries himself with raw sexual confidence. People say the sex gets worse the older you get, but my sex life really blasted off to the next level once the kids were away at college and the entire house became a sexual playground for me and Sandra. I swear there's not a piece of furniture or floor that I didn't give her a screaming orgasm on at one point or another. It was empowering. Being able to take my wife and give her such intense levels of sexual satisfaction made me feel like more of a man, filling me with confidence, pride, and the joy of being alive. But all this was about to change. One night after a few drinks and some incredible foreplay, my wife and I somehow ended up butt naked on the living room floor in front of the Christmas tree. Just as I was about to roll her over and give her the business, I noticed my penis wasn't the rock-hard, majestic beast it usually is. No big deal, I think. Maybe I just had a little bit too much to drink this time. It's just a case of drunk dick. Or so I thought. As the nights went on, my penis became limper and limper. I continued to blame my less than perfect erections on things like my drinking habits, stress from work, anything. There was no way it could be my fault, right? I still remember vividly the first time that my penis was so limp that I literally couldn't do anything with it. My wife said not to worry about it, got out of bed, left the room. That should have told me something, but I ignored it. I kept naively thinking that this was no big deal, that it would get better on its own. It was just a phase, right? Maybe if I stop drinking, things will turn around. Right? Excuse after excuse after excuse. But my wife wasn't looking for excuses. She wanted me to lay her down and give her the hard and dirty like I used to, and I physically couldn't. Her response of, "Don't worry about it," soon became eye-rolling, dejected sighs, and that head shake that I still can't tell if it was from pity or disgust. It's hard to describe the feelings I had. It's like the hand of fate literally castrated me and took everything that had made me a man. Words like embarrassment and shame don't really just capture how insignificant and worthless I felt. The physical changes were just as bad. My entire body began to feel weaker as my once muscular build began to wither nearly as fast as my sex drive, which was drying up faster than the Sahara Desert. I felt so bad that I would have gotten myself checked for cancer if I wasn't too busy burying my head in the denial about the whole thing and pretending it would get better any day now. This was just the beginning of my downward spiral, though. Erectile dysfunction was about to take so much more from me than just my pride as a man and my physical wellness. Let me give you a scary piece of information. 70% of divorces are initiated by women. Whenever I heard that statistic, I always laughed it off. I was good looking, in shape, made plenty of money. I was a sexual powerhouse in the bedroom. My wife and I loved each other, and we were happy. But you see, what's hard for us guys to understand is the fact that a woman needs sex just as much as we do. They just approach it a little differently because they don't want to come across looking like a total whore. Now, imagine being married to a woman that you can never have sex with, no matter how hot she is, how successful, how loving. The relationship just won't work. You can only give your little soldier a dishonorable discharge so many times by yourself before you realize that you need the true physical intimacy of being with another person. Physical intimacy is the glue that holds a relationship together. It's how we're genetically programmed. And here's something else to consider. It isn't unheard of for a woman to leave her man due to him having a lack of sex drive. This isn't just because your partner desires physical intimacy to satisfy her sexual needs. It's also because your ED is a poor reflection on her as a woman. It's an embarrassment for her to be married to or dating a man who can't get it up for her. Now think about these and put two and two together. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to see where this is going. You should also realize that it isn't just the ED that's bringing you down in the eyes of your wife or girlfriend. As you probably know, ED is humiliating. Your self-confidence goes to crap, and with it, your self-esteem. You even begin to find it hard to respect yourself as a man. You're just not the same person anymore, and your woman picks up on this even outside the bedroom. Even just walking down the street or going to work, you start feeling anxious around others, imagining what they'd think and how they'd laugh if they knew you were carrying around a wet noodle that can't please a woman. Speaking of women, they weren't giving me the look and flirting with me anymore either, unless you count the looks of pity I got. It was so humiliating that I'd even avoid eye contact with any woman I came across if possible. It was pathetic. When you have ED, you literally can't look anyone in the eye without worrying about how they'd react if they knew your dark secret. For me personally, I felt like a failure as a man. I didn't even want to look at my wife because it reminded me that I was no longer her Superman in bed. I was even making excuses not to have sex, and it made me feel pathetic. In some cases, I even made the situation worse by taking out my frustration on her passive-aggressively. A snide comment here, a bit of inconsideration there. Things were heading in a bad direction even as my health began to go downhill. At one point, my wife told me to go see a doctor, and I replied by telling her to shut the F up, not realizing the damage I was doing to our relationship. But I was still an optimist. This problem, which I wasn't even admitting was erectile dysfunction at this point, would go away on its own, and once it did, my relationship with my wife would go back to normal. Truth is, I wasn't an optimist, I was delusional. Let's make this 100% clear. Your erectile dysfunction will not go away on its own. Not now, and not ever. Erectile dysfunction only gets worse. And like a cancer, it spreads to destroy every aspect of your life and everything you love if you don't take fast action. And like cancer, the sooner you begin treating your ED, the easier it is to get rid of. My reality check came when I got the divorce papers. My wife didn't even respect me enough to let me know face to face. And to be honest, I didn't respect myself much either at that point. All my delusional optimism gave way to depression, self-loathing, and the kind of apathy that makes you do stupid things, like not lawyering up when your soon-to-be ex-wife does. That cost me a lot of the money and property that I had worked hard and long for. In fact, things got so bad financially for me that I ended up living in a crappy one-room apartment with barely any furniture, wallowing in my own self-pity and guilt. Yeah, I felt guilty. I felt like everything was my fault. It was my fault that a perfect marriage fell apart. It was my fault that my kids had their family torn apart. It was my fault that I lost practically everything I'd ever worked for. I was a mess. Don't let yourself hit rock bottom like I did. The worst thing about all this is that my son and daughter kept worrying about me. They were in college. They were supposed to be out having fun, concentrating on their studies, preparing for a bright future, not having to keep checking up on dear old dad just to make sure he hadn't put a bullet in his head or drunk himself to death. Speaking of alcohol, I turned back to it in a big way. Sometimes I would wonder what's going to kill me first, liver failure or suicide. That is until I came across information that ED can also be connected to heart disease. Death had multiple options when it came to getting rid of me. And yeah, I had finally come to admit that I had erectile dysfunction by this time, but ironically, I didn't really care. I didn't care about much of anything at that point other than where my next bottle of booze was coming from. And then my son got into a car accident. This is one of my few vivid memories from that dark time in my life. I remember getting a panicked phone call from my daughter, frantically trying to find a cab to get to the hospital, and the immense relief when I found out he was okay. Standing there in the hospital with my son and daughter, and realizing what I almost lost, something just clicked inside of me. I realized that I had a responsibility to them as a father, and that the way I was living was dragging down their lives as well. It was time for a change. Even so, I knew that my life wasn't going to get anywhere until I took care of the root of my problems, the thing that had caused this mess to begin with, my erectile dysfunction. I was so desperate, I was willing to do anything to beat my ED. I had done a little research on ED online before, but now I was motivated enough to get serious about it. I was going to fix my erectile dysfunction no matter what it took or what I had to do. I owed it to myself, but more importantly, I owed it to my family. I was ready to try anything, and honestly, I pretty much did. I was in depression mode, so I started with the first fix I came across, a penis pump. It was embarrassing, stupid, made me feel like a clown when using it. And of course, didn't fix my ED either. Tossed the pump and moved on. Time to seek professional help. I scraped together what little money I had left, swallowed my shame, and went to a urologist. I could take a little embarrassment if this guy could fix my ED. As I should have expected, I was prescribed Viagra, almost like it was an afterthought. I guess the doc didn't really care as long as he was getting paid. However, there are issues with these kinds of products. You see, you have to take Viagra and other pills around 20 minutes before you get busy with your partner. I don't know about you, but the best sex I've ever had is when it happens spontaneously. Having to plan out exactly when you're going to put your dick in kills the mood, leaves you feeling anxious and stressed. In addition to that problem, these male enhancement pills cost an arm and a leg. Even if I wasn't broke at the time, I'd feel pretty lousy having to pay big money every time I wanted to get intimate with someone. It's almost like having to hire a prostitute. Scariest thing about all this is the fact that Viagra has actually been linked to over 500 deaths. This is because ED is linked to heart disease, like I mentioned earlier. Do I really want to be popping pills that could put me at a greater risk? No way. With all these thoughts rushing through my head, I ended up trashing my Viagra prescription right up on the way to the pharmacy. Turned the car around. There had to be better, safer options. Next, I turned to the cheap $17 ebooks that promised to fix my ED by showing me how to mix chocolate and prune juice together or some nonsense. I bought so many ebooks I lost track, and they all offered me the same fluff that didn't work. Yeah, I actually drank the chocolate and prune juice. Ugh. But I was onto something. There was so much info out there, both online and in these ebooks, about how to kill ED that all of it could be bogus. There had to be some truth in there somewhere in there. So, like a miner, panning for gold, I began to research as much information as possible, hoping to find nuggets of truth buried underneath all the garbage. I continued buying ebooks, but instead of following their bogus magic bullet formula, I would go through and take the info from them that matched up with legit medical advice I'd researched online, separating the crap from the genuinely useful information. As you can imagine, this was a long, boring, and tedious process. I kept a file on my pitiful little laptop, and it grew and grew. Once I felt that I had a decent amount of information, I began to test it on myself. Looking back, that was pretty stupid of me. Of course, my experiments led me to some pretty interesting experiences as I began to discover what worked, what didn't, and what had me blowing up the toilet for hours at a time. But I was determined to beat my ED, and I didn't care what I had to do in order to do it. By some miracle, I managed to not only survive these reckless experiments, but I also began to put together all the pieces of the puzzle necessary to create a legitimate, all-natural way to fix the ED without the horrible side effects. You can beat your ED naturally without pills, pumps, surgeries, and dangerous magic bullet methods. With 30 million people worldwide suffering the shame and humiliation of erectile dysfunction, I guess I should consider myself lucky to be where I am today. To be honest, though, I'm just well informed. I figured out something that practically no one else realized. Beating ED isn't just some one-time thing. It's a series of lifestyle choices. While everyone else was searching for the next magic bullet to make their limp dick hard again, I was working on multiple areas of my life just because I was so desperate. And the multi-prong approach worked. Let me make this 100% clear so there's no miscommunication. Erectile dysfunction isn't like a cold where you get sick, take the remedy, and then you're well again. It's an ongoing project with your body. Beating your ED is something that you do day after day, month after month, year after year. Sound tough? Well, don't worry, it honestly isn't. And a side benefit of my program is that you'll vastly improve many other aspects of your life, including your physical health, mental wellness, and libido. I should also mention what my method isn't. Following my program will not make you feel like a clown like a penis pump will. It won't put you at risk of cardiovascular problems like many male enhancement pills. And it sure as hell isn't going to have you spending quality time with your toilet like most of the magic bullet ebook methods. The name of my program is the ED Solution Pro. The ED Solution Pro was designed from the ground up through hours of intense research and excruciating trial and error with me as the guinea pig. I went through a lot of crap to create this program, but in the end, only one thing matters. It works. Now, let me tell you, this isn't an ebook in the traditional sense. This is a complete step-by-step program designed to annihilate your erectile dysfunction from the face of the planet and restore your masculinity. Like I said, the reason this program works is because it eliminates your ED from multiple angles, allowing you to kill your ED in the most efficient way possible. The ED Solution Pro can help you regain your self-confidence, sexual appeal, and manhood. Become a sexual stallion in bed and feel years younger. Save your crumbling relationship or create lasting new ones. Say goodbye to the embarrassment, shame, and humiliation. Experience bigger, longer-lasting erections for more intense, passionate sexual experiences. Improve your physical wellness and experience greater strength, stamina, and vigor in and out of bed. Turn back the clock and feel 20 years younger with a turbocharged sex drive and an ultra-enhanced libido. Sound too good to be true? Trust me, it isn't. There is absolutely no reason you can't beat your ED and get back to enjoying all the intense, passionate sex you can handle with your current partner or with a hot, sexy new partner of your choosing. Personally, my life turned around almost instantly after solving my erectile dysfunction problem, and being able to get and maintain huge, rock-hard erections was just half of it. I also got back my self-confidence and began to respect myself once again. Goodbye alcoholism and self-pity. When you're ED-free, you carry yourself differently, and people begin to notice, especially women who are all too happy to begin flirting with me now that I was a man again, rebuilding my muscular frame faster than ever before, which is something I was more than happy to take full advantage of. Even though I didn't find the solution to beating my erectile dysfunction in time to save my marriage, I also realized that a world of dating and new sexual opportunities had opened for me. I felt like a kid hitting puberty for the first time again, and I can't begin to describe how much physical stamina and strength I gained. I've been with girls nearly half my age who've done stuff that my wife would never have done in a million years, and I've been able to keep up with them in every step of the way like I was in my 20s again. I literally feel invincible at this point, like I can have any woman I want, even if that doesn't sound a little arrogant. You'll understand what I'm talking about when you begin to notice that the strippers are looking at you more lustfully than you're looking at them. Or how that hot bartender starts going out of her way to start chatting with you. Women can pick up on your self-confidence and they're immediately drawn to it. I even ran into my wife uptown a few months back when I was with a hot little 22-year-old blonde I was dating at the time. The look of jealousy on my wife's face was priceless and gave me extra motivation when I got my date back to my place that night. And right as I had her ready to feel the full power of my manhood, the phone rang. I ignored it, of course, and smirked as I imagined, half-jokingly, that it was a call from my ex-wife begging to get me back. Turns out it really was a call from my ex-wife wanting to apologize. I humored her for a few days. Apparently she wasn't happy with her new life and wanted to start over again with me. Let me tell you, it made me feel empowered, vindicated even, to see her grovel like that. My relationship with my kids also improved. They were able to focus on their lives at college instead of worrying if dad was going to put a bullet in his head or drink himself to death. Now when they give me a call or a visit, it's to spend quality time with me, not to make sure that I was still alive. The ED Solution Pro works. Looking back on just how badly my life fell apart, I realized that I couldn't just keep this information to myself. I created the ED Solution Pro with the intention of helping guys like you beat your ED before it leaves you depressed and suicidal like it did me. To be honest, I was a little reluctant about launching this program. What if I just got lucky? What if it only works for me? But then I thought about people like you who are suffering every day from erectile dysfunction. Because I know firsthand how it can make a mockery of your sex life and also tear apart your family. I realized that I had a moral obligation to get this information to you. I have to admit, I was extremely nervous after the launch, and I knew all eyes would be on this incredible program. But then something amazing happened. I began to get positive feedback from satisfied customers that you'll see below. I have to say, I was nearly as excited as when I first conquered my own erectile dysfunction. Here are a few of the messages I got from people just like you who turned their ED around and took their sex lives to new levels. The ED Solution Pro is fantastic. Hi, Alex. I'm more than happy to share my success story with you. The ED Solution Pro is simply fantastic. It took some time and effort for me to get used to the lifestyle changes I had to incorporate to my routine, but once I did, it was so worth it. I saw positive changes not only with my ED, but with my health in general. Thank you for sharing this information with all of us. Stephen W. I don't ever want to go back to the old me. The ED Solution Pro gave me the knowledge not only to significantly improve my sex life, but also my health in general. I've never felt so young and good about myself. I don't ever want to go back to the old me. I'm single, meeting new women every week, and having amazing sex. Couldn't ask for more. Harry S. It works. All I can say is, it works. Saved me money and time, and I never felt like I was putting my health in risk. I have my life back. I feel confident, and my girlfriend is very happy. Excellent customer service as well. Brett R. Best decision ever. When I first realized I was experiencing ED, I felt like my world was falling apart. I tried all sorts of things, but the side effects were making me feel worse. Doing an online search, I came across your program, Alex, and when I watched your video, I literally felt like you were telling my story. I had problems with my wife. Thankfully, she didn't divorce me. Well, at least not yet. I was depressed and didn't care about anything anymore. My wife encouraged me to try your program, and let me tell you, it was the best decision ever. I had my doubts at first, but I quickly realized this was exactly what I'd been looking for. My wife and I will be forever thankful. David M. It's truly an amazing feeling to be able to help so many men overcome the crippling effects of erectile dysfunction and regain their self-confidence. And I hope to hear your success story soon as well. Now, let's talk a bit about the information ED Solution Pro contains and how it works. The ED Solution Pro is, as you may have guessed from the name, designed to take you from step 1 all the way to beating your ED. This is because the ED Solution Pro addresses your erectile dysfunction problems from all possible angles. Since ED is typically caused by a wide variety of factors, not just one, this is the only way to beat it. The program also works to heal you physically as well as mentally. Not only will you feel happier and more confident, you'll also experience more stamina, strength, and a powerful youthful vigor that'll make you feel years or even decades younger. With the ED Solution Pro, you'll learn how to identify the various lifestyle factors that are causing your ED and decreasing your sexual performance, why ED drugs are not the answer and how they can be extremely dangerous, how to cope with psychological factors that can cause your ED, decrease your stamina, and make you into a joke in the bedroom, the difference between impotence and ED, and why you should care, misconceptions and myths about ED that could keep your dick limp for years or decades to come, a comprehensive list of natural supplements and nutrients that fight ED, boost your stamina, and energize your sex life, how to motivate yourself and get excited about exercise that will lead to bigger, harder, longer-lasting erections and better health in general, and my popular erectile dysfunction FAQ that'll teach you everything you need to know about it. Put an end to the humiliation, stress, and anxiety of ED today with the ED Solution Pro. Regain your confidence and feel like a man again. Okay, so you're probably wondering how you can get your hands on the ED Solution Pro to beat your ED ASAP, and just how much it's going to cost. To be honest, you'd probably expect something as life-changing as this to cost an arm and a leg. But I want to do some good in the world for as many people as possible. I know your life is probably hurting pretty bad about now, and if it isn't, trust me, it will, as your ED begins to tear down the foundation of everything you love. And that's why I'm going to give you the ED Solution Pro for an easy one-time payment. Click the link below, but I assure you it is literally less than the cost of what you spend on a daily cup of coffee each month. You can say goodbye to the shame, humiliation, and embarrassment of your erectile dysfunction and experience new levels of intimacy and passion in your sex life. No extra charges, no hidden fees, nothing like that. You can get full, immediate access to the complete guide of the ED Solution Pro for just a small, one-time payment. That's it. No catch, no clause, no hidden payments. Seriously, what's your sex life worth to you? What's your relationship with your partner worth to you? If I'd known about this when my family was falling apart, I would have paid 10 times as much, or more. And considering what erectile dysfunction can ultimately cost you, this is a drop in the bucket by comparison. I don't want you to have to lose everything I lost before you realize how serious ED is. I've already invested hundreds of hours doing the research, testing the methods, and making sure this thing works. All you have to do is make an easy, one-time payment, and you're good to go. Click the button below and make the decision to kill your erectile dysfunction using safe, all-natural methods starting today. You won't regret it, and that's a promise. If you're still on the fence about this, don't be. You risk nothing. Get the program now, and in the extremely rare event that you feel it isn't for you for any reason in the next 60 days, simply email us and I'll give you a full refund. No questions asked. I'm taking all the risk, not you. You literally have nothing to lose but your erectile dysfunction. The point of ED Solution Pro isn't just to get your dick hard again so you can get back to the same sex life you've enjoyed for years. I want to go above and beyond the call of duty for you here and help you take your sex life to new heights of passion, intimacy, and excitement for you and your partner. That's why when you get the ED Solution Pro, you also get 2 special guides that will help you experience all the sex you can handle in new and exciting ways that you never thought possible. Bonus 1. Spice up your sex life. Eat your way to better sex. Like I've said before, certain foods can help end your ED. But did you know there are also foods that can boost your sexual performance above and beyond what you're normally capable of? In this bonus guide, you'll discover my very best recipes for turbocharging your libido and sexual vigor by preparing easy-to-make meals using affordable ingredients you can find at your local grocery store. Learn how to create incredibly potent meals that are as cost-effective as they are delicious. Discover little-known foods that you'll love that'll turn you into a sexual tyrannosaurus in the bedroom. Take your partner to new limits of orgasmic ecstasy with your superpowered stamina and bigger, stronger, longer erections. You get this guide 100% free. Bonus 2. Better Sex the Genghis Khan Way. Sex tips from one of the most virile men in history. In addition to being known as one of the greatest conquerors in history, Genghis Khan was also one of the most virile men to ever live. Between his wives and concubines, this guy literally fathered thousands of kids. Crazy, huh? In fact, it's even estimated that he produced so many offspring that 1 in 200 people living today are descended from him. While this bonus guide won't teach you how to conquer nations, it'll teach you how the Khan became an unstoppable sex machine, and how you can too, whether you're one of his descendants or not. Learn which common product you come into contact every day that's killing your sex drive and how to avoid it. Discover the exact herbs, plants, and sexual superfoods Genghis Khan ate regularly to boost his libido to near superhuman levels. Enhance your bedroom performance by doing one mental exercise Genghis Khan did every day. You get this guide 100% free. Click the button below to take advantage of these bonus offers and experience bigger, longer-lasting erections, more powerful orgasms, and enhanced stamina that'll leave your partner begging for more. All for a one-time investment that's a tiny fraction of what you would spend on expensive surgeries, risky pills, or humiliating devices. Your ED will not go away on its own. Take action now, before it gets worse. Erectile dysfunction has been one of the worst experiences in my life and literally almost killed me. Let me tell you something. Your ED is only going to get worse from here on out. It isn't going to magically fix itself. And as your erectile dysfunction gets worse, so will your life in general. And trust me, it'll drag down your relationships, your family, and everyone else close to you as well. I lost my marriage and most of my physical possessions thanks to ED. I don't want you to ever get to that point if you're not there already. The good news is that ED can be fixed, and it doesn't require you to pay a fortune on expensive surgeries, risky pills, or humiliating devices. Your erectile dysfunction can be fixed using all-natural methods without hazardous side effects. That said, don't turn yourself into a guinea pig like I did for every so-called ED fix you come across. You'll just waste your valuable time and money as the physical and psychological effects of ED rapidly eat away at your life. The ED Solution Pro is all you'll ever need to get rid of your erectile dysfunction and keep it from ever coming back to embarrass you in the bedroom. Make the right choice for you, your loved ones, and especially your partner. End the ED nightmare here and now. Get back your self-confidence and experience a new chapter of unrestrained passion and vigor in your sex life. Click the button below and put an end to the embarrassment and humiliation before things get out of control. You don't want to hit rock bottom like I did, and with the ED Solution Pro, you don't have to. I'm cheering for you. P.S. Don't forget that ED Solution Pro is the all-natural way to get rid of your erectile dysfunction without dangerous drugs, humiliating devices, or disgusting food combinations. With the ED Solution Pro, you can get bigger, harder erections that last longer than ever before. Regain your self-confidence, self-respect, and self-esteem. Excite your partner by taking your sex life to new heights of intimacy and passion. Turn your body into a sexual powerhouse with more strength, stamina, and a youthful libido that'll make you feel years younger. Enjoy the attention of women you meet as they pick up on your sense of self-confidence and pride. You get the Core ED Solution Pro and 2 amazing bonus guides for an easy one-time payment that'll cost you less than you spend on a daily beer each month. Your manhood is worth way more than that. Trust me. PSS, remember, the ED Solution Pro is 100% risk-free. I'm giving you an unbreakable 60-day money-back guarantee. All you have to lose is your ED. Click the button below to get instant access to the ED Solution Pro and eliminate your ED without the need for expensive surgeries, risky pills, or humiliating devices.